Good day, everyone. We are group number 2 from the Environmental Science course, section A9, and I, Adriosula, together with Abrencilio, Castro, Festin, and Intervalo, will be presenting our case study about the environmental situation in Thailand. For the table of contents, for Chapter 1, Background Information, and Chapter 2, Objectives, I, Adriosula, will be discussing these chapters. For Chapter 3, Description, and Chapter 4, Status of Environmental Pollution, it will be Miss Abrencilio. For Chapter 5, Major Activities Causing Environmental Pollution with Impact on Human Health, and Chapter 6, Key Agencies Involved in Environment and Health Concerns, it will be Miss Festin. For Chapter 7, Efforts by the Government in Addressing Pollution Problems, and Chapter 8, Analysis of the Adequacy of Government Actions, it will be Ms. Intervalo. And lastly, for Chapter 9, Recommendation on Technology and Management Approaches, and Chapter 10, Conclusion, it will be Ms. Castro. So let's get started. Thailand, located at the center of Southeast Asia, has a population of around 71 million people, making it the 20th most populous country in the world. Although its population density is moderate, urban areas like Bangkok face growing environmental challenges from overcrowding, while rural regions struggle to sustain resources and agriculture. But over the years, Thailand's population growth has slowed, showing a steady decline as the population begins to age. The majority of Thais today belong to the working age group, which supports the economy. However, by 2050, the elderly population is expected to increase significantly, creating future challenges for healthcare and social welfare. Geographically, Thailand enjoys a tropical monsoon climate, but climate change has caused irregular rainfall and rising temperatures, affecting its agriculture, especially rice production. The country is also rich in biodiversity, home to thousands of plant and animal species, though many face threats from deforestation and pollution. Economically, Thailand is Southeast Asia's second largest economy, driven mainly by services, industry, and agriculture. While tourism and digital expansion boosts growth, sustainability remains a major concern as economic progress continues to impact the environment. And lastly, for health, Thailand's human health is closely linked to environmental conditions such as air pollution, contaminated water, and climate related diseases, as shown in the figure, such as dengue fever and heat illnesses, remain pressing public health issues. Now, having stated Thailand's background information, let's proceed to the objectives. Thailand in 2025 stands at a critical crossroads balancing rapid economic recovery with its strong commitments to environmental sustainability and good governance. This chapter focuses on assessing how the country manages its environmental challenges while pursuing development and growth. At the center of Thailand's sustainability efforts is the biocircular green or the BCG economic model in front of you, which combines biological resource use, circular economy principles, and green innovation. This strategy targets key sectors such as agriculture, bioenergy, medical industries, and creative tourism, aiming to make sustainability a foundation for economic progress. Thailand's climate goals are equally ambitious. The country plans to cut greenhouse gas emissions by up to 40%, achieve carbon neutrality by 2050, and reach net zero emissions by 2065. However, pollution, especially PM2.5, remains a major concern in Bangkok and northern provinces, where crop burning and industrial emissions cause severe air quality problems. Water scarcity, flooding, and deforestation also threaten the nation's ecosystems. Despite reforestation efforts that restored forest cover to around 30%, illegal logging and land conversion continue to endanger biodiversity. Thailand's government and international partners, including the United Nations, are implementing stronger environmental laws, renewable energy targets, and sustainable finance programs. This includes stricter emission standards, investments in clean energy, community led conservation, and policies promoting circular waste management.
The country also supports a vast range of animal life, from the majestic Asian elephant with just over 3,000 remaining to the Indo-Chinese tiger with fewer than 250 individuals left in the wild. Other species like the Malayan tapir, Siamese crocodile, and the clouded leopard add to Thailand's ecological diversity. Yet habitat loss, poaching, and deforestation continue to endanger wildlife, with more than 500 animal species now listed as threatened. However, environmental pollution remains a growing concern. Air quality has worsened with PM 2.5 levels nearly 4 times higher than the World Health Organization's safe limit, mainly due to traffic emissions and crop burning. Water resources face uneven distribution and increasing demand from agriculture and industries. Soil pollution is aggravated by urban waste and imported plastics, prompting the government to push for a biocircular green economy. Meanwhile, noise pollution from urbanization and transport continues to affect public health and quality of life. Thailand's ecosystems are equally remarkable, from dense rainforests and mangroves to wetlands and coral reefs. Forests cover about 32% of the land and are vital for climate regulation and biodiversity. Wetlands and mangroves serve as natural water filters and storm barriers, while coral reefs along the Andaman Sea and the Gulf of Thailand support hundreds of marine species. These ecosystems make Thailand a global diversity hotspot. Thailand is one of Southeast Asia's most biologically rich countries. It hosts over 10,000 species of vascular plants, from towering trees to rare endemic flowers. However, native plants are increasingly threatened by logging and agriculture, while invasive species such as Salvinia molesta and Mimosa pigra disrupt wetlands and forests. Altogether, Thailand's biodiversity and ecosystem remain incredibly rich but fragile. Sustainable management, stronger conservation policies, and community participation are vital to ensure that the country's natural wealth endures for generations to come.
So for my part, I'll be explaining the major activities in Thailand that causes environmental pollution and how they affect people's health. So basically, Thailand's fast development from being agricultural country to more industrialized has led to very serious pollution problems, especially air pollution. The main culprits are vehicles, agricultural burning, and industrial emission. So let's start with vehicles. So in cities like Bangkok, there are heavy traffics every day, and most cars and motorcycles release smoke that contains fine particles like PM10 and PM2.5. These are very small that when we breathe them in, they go straight into our lungs and even our bloodstream. So over time, this can lead to respiratory problems, heart diseases, and even early deaths. In fact, study shows that in Bangkok, for every 10 micrograms increase in PM10, the death rates goes up by 1.25%. Now, in northern Thailand, the issues is different. The problem there is biomass burning. So farmers burn crops residue after harvesting, and this smoke mixes with the haze that drifts from nearby countries. So during the dry season, the air quality in Chiang Mai can go above the sea level, sometimes reaching 300 micrograms per cubic meter, which is extremely unhealthy. This kind of air pollution causes people to have more asthma attacks, coughs, and lung infection. And lastly, we have the industrial pollution. In provinces like Rayong, where there are lots of petrochemical plants, the air contains volatile organic compounds, or VOC. These are harmful chemicals from factories. So, people who live near these industrial areas have reported more headaches, dizziness, and even high risk of premature birth and other health problems. So overall, Thailand's environmental pollution mainly comes from transportation, agriculture, and industrial activities. And all of these directly impacts the health and daily lives of the people. So now let's move on to chapter 6, which talks about the key agencies in Thailand that handle environmental and health concerns. So Thailand actually has several government offices that work together to manage environmental and protect public health. Um, we have this, which is the main one, is the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environmental, or MNRE. This the head agency that creates national policies for conservation, pollution control, and climate programs. Next is the Ministry of Agriculture Cooperatives. They make sure that farming practices are sustainable and that pesticide use and land management are properly regulated. Then we have the Department of National Parks, Wildlife, and Plants Conservation. They're in charge of protecting biodiversity and taking care of national parks and enforcing wildlife laws. Another one is the Department of Environmental Quality Promotion. So their role is more on public awareness and education. So they work closely with communities to promote cleaner and greener lifestyle. So the pollution control department now is very important too. They monitor air, water, and soil quality and make sure emission standards are followed. They're also the ones handling the country's PM 2.5 reduction program. So we also have the National Environmental Board, which brings all these agencies together and help coordinate their plans and policies. And last but not least, the Department of Health, or DOH, focuses on environmental health and sanitation. They check if the water quality, chemical safety, and make sure communities have a healthy environment. So all these agencies work together to make Thailand's environmental management more organized and effective. They combine policy making, research, and community programs to promote a cleaner and healthier country for Thailand. So that's it for my part. Thank you for watching.
Moving on to the efforts by the government in addressing pollution problems, in a country like Thailand, where the population has continued to increase over the majority of the past few years, it is important to implement policies that can help retain the quality of the natural resources around us. Thailand has recognized that environmental protection is essential to national progress. With a growing population and expanding economy, the country has implemented several important policies, regulations, and relevant laws to maintain ecological balance. First, the National Environmental Policy Act of 1969, also known as the Enhancement and Conservation of the National Environmental Quality Act of 1992, or CEQA, provides the foundation for Thailand's environmental protection system. It sets standards for water, air, and noise quality, regulates wastewater and emissions from industries, ensuring that development is balanced with environmental preservation. Next, the Clean Air Act, also known as the Clean Air Bill, was enacted in order to address Thailand's worsening air pollution crisis, particularly from PM 2.5 particles. According to UNCF, approximately 13.6 million children are at risk due to poor air quality. The bill introduces innovative tools such as clean air taxes and economic incentives to promote cleaner production and sustainable practices. Thailand is also a signatory to the Paris Agreement 2016. Under this global accord, the country aims to peak greenhouse gas emissions by 2030, achieve carbon neutrality by 2065, and move toward net zero emissions within this century, supported by international cooperation in finance, technology, and capacity building. The Pollution Control Act of 1992 further reinforces these goals by setting limits for pollutants and regulating waste from industrial, agricultural, and residential resources. It mandates the proper management of hazardous waste and ensures that local authorities adhere to strict environmental standards. Lastly, the Thai Energy Conservation Act of 1992 focuses on improving energy efficiency across industries, transportation, and buildings. It promotes renewable energy sources such as solar, wind, and biomass to reduce Thailand's dependence on fossil fuels and mitigate greenhouse gas emissions. Meanwhile, the programs, projects, and interventions aim to reduce pollution, protect ecosystems, and strengthen climate resilience. At the heart of Thailand's sustainability strategy is the Biocircular Green or BCG economy model. This model integrates bio, circular, and green economy principles promoting sustainable resource use, innovation, and low carbon growth. It focuses on four key sectors: agricultural, bioenergy, health and wellness, and creative tourism, with the goal of contributing up to 25% of the country's GDP by 2025. To protect biodiversity, the National Biodiversity Action Plan 2023 to 2027 was launched by the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment. It aims to restore critical habits, develop biodiversity credits, and involve local communities in sustainable ecosystem management, supporting Thailand's target of achieving 40% forest cover nationwide. Air pollution control has also become a national priority. Under the Clean Air Initiative, the government tightened vehicle emission standards, provided electric vehicle subsidies, and launched the No Burn Agricultural Program to help farmers adopt cleaner land burning practices that reduce PM 2.5 emissions, a major health concern nationwide. In terms of water and flood management, Thailand's Royal Irrigation Department and the Department of Water Resources lead projects such as the Chao Phraya Basin Climate Resilience Project, which integrates watershed restoration and community-based flood prevention initiatives. Thousands of reservoirs now irrigate millions of hectares, supporting both food security and climate adaptation. Along the coast, Thailand's blue carbon and coastal rehabilitation programs protect mangroves and coral reefs. Through a mangrove land tax exception and coral restoration efforts, over 60% of bleached reefs have recovered, enhancing both biodiversity and carbon storage. Waste management is another area of progress. The Zero Waste Thailand program promotes producer responsibility for packaging and electronic waste, encourages recycling innovation, and educates households on reducing and segregating waste. The ban on plastic waste imports in 2025 marked a milestone in reducing transboundary pollution. Finally, community-based programs remain vital. Through the UN Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework, local groups, including youth, women, and indigenous people, lead reforestation, coastal protection, and climate resilient farming projects, ensuring that Thailand's environmental progress is inclusive and sustainable. In summary, Thailand's multi-level efforts from national policies to grassroots action demonstrate a strong and evolving commitment to a greener, more resilient future. Henceforth, we will conduct an analysis on the adequacy of government actions. We'll take a closer look at how Thailand has demonstrated a strong commitment to environmental conservation through its laws, programs, and national initiatives, as well as the challenges it continues to face in achieving full sustainability. At the core of these laws is the enhancement and conservation of the National Environmental Quality Act of 1992, which establishes national standards for water, air, and noise quality, ensuring that development remains environmentally responsible. However, Thailand's Biocircular Green BCG economy model drives innovation across agriculture, bioenergy, and sustainable tourism, with the goal of contributing up to 25% of the nation's GDP by 2025. Complementary initiatives such as the National Biodiversity Action Plan, the Zero Waste Thailand program, and Blue Carbon Coastal projects further underscore the country's commitment to biodiversity conservation, waste reduction, and climate adaptation. Notably, the ban on plastic waste imports in 2025 marked a milestone in tackling pollution. However, challenges remain. Thailand's carbon neutrality goal of 2065 is less ambitious than any other nation's, and fossil fuels still dominate its energy mix. While citizens rank the environment as a top concern, many believe government actions must be stronger to address air pollution, waste, and climate risk.
To address Thailand's remaining environmental gaps, our group recommends using modern technologies and stronger management systems under the Biocircular Green or BCG economic model. For air pollution, Thailand should adopt real-time air monitoring systems powered by AI and IoT, which can alert communities during high PM 2.5 levels, promoting Electric vehicles and expanding charging stations nationwide can also reduce emission from transport. In agriculture, the use of no-burn technologies and biochar systems can replace open field burning, reducing haze and improving soil health. We also recommend boosting renewable energy sources like solar and wind to lessen dependence on fossil fuels. Finally, Thailand should engage public participation through mobile apps or community reporting systems to track illegal waste dumping or deforestation. Through these combined approaches, technology, clean energy, and citizen engagement, Thailand can strengthen its path towards a greener and more sustainable future. After analyzing Thailand's environmental governance, we can conclude that the country has laid a strong foundation for sustainability. Its legal frameworks, like the Enhancement and Conservation of National Environmental Quality Act and the Pollution Control Act, combined with programs such as the Zero Waste Thailand program and the Blue Carbon Coastal Rehabilitation, all show a real commitment to protecting nature. However, challenges remain. Thailand's carbon neutrality goal of 2065 is less ambitious compared to global standards, and fossil fuels still dominate its energy mix. There's also a noticeable action gap between government policies and public expectation regarding pollution and climate action. To close these gaps, Thailand must continue to embrace technology, strengthen partnership, and empower communities. With the use of AI, IoT, renewable energy, and nationwide data systems, along with active citizen participation, the BCG model can evolve into a living, dynamic system, not just a policy. In the end, Thailand's environmental future depends on uniting governance, innovation, and public engagement to achieve true sustainability, public health improvement, and regional leadership in climate resilience across ASEAN.